This implies that the guarantor system, which hitherto allowed a registered voter to vouch for the citizenship and age of prospective applicants, will no longer be relied upon as part of our registration exercise. The reason is that over the years, the guarantor system has presented us with several challenges. Unfortunately, we were unable to discard it much earlier due to the absence of a national identification card such as the one issued by the NIA. The challenges with the guarantor system are twofold. First of all, it opens the door for registered voters or guarantor contractors to guarantee and vouch for persons who are less than 18 years old. Secondly, it allows these guarantors to vouch for persons who are not citizens of Ghana. Such unqualified persons, usually minors and foreigners, use the door of the guarantor system to try to get onto our register. We were able to successfully expunge close to 40,000 minors and foreigners from the register during the registration exercise. It has been argued that this number is not significant, but we beg to differ. And we refute the argument and state that one unqualified person on our roll is one too many.
Persons who have registered, whose records are with the NIA, but whose cards have not yet been printed, stands at 541,529. This figure, 541,529, represents the financial difficulties we have had lately, beginning approximately in July, August of last year. That resulted in our inability to get access to some 3.5 million blank cards that we have ordered into the country, which are currently in bonded warehouses, brought into the country by our technical partners, but we are unable to access them because of financial constraints. The banks that have basically bankrolled that purchase and importation have to be paid, and it had become a bit of financial constipation, which constipation has also given us some headaches.
The proposed CI, which makes the Ghana card the sole requirement for voter registration, serves as a restraint on citizens' right to register and exercise their franchise in elections. The Electoral Commission is to undertake programs for the expansion of the registration of voters. Instead, the EC rather seeks to undertake a program for the restriction of the registration of voters. We hold the view that the time-tested guarantor system must be maintained in our voter registration processes, and this position is absolutely non-negotiable. The suspicion of collusion by the ruling party and the Electoral Commission to rig the election for the ruling party continues to drive the situation towards dispute and potential violence. The minority group in Parliament will in the coming days be engaging a broad spectrum of stakeholders, including our developing partners, faith-based organizations, traditional authorities, civil society organizations, to get them to appreciate the issue at stake.
So the issues and the concerns are clear, both on the part of the majority and then the minority, and indeed for you, the Ghanaian people as well, who have been talking about this. Welcome back. This is Key Point on TV3. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. Also live on 3FM 92.7. My guest, His Excellency Nii Ayikwe Otu, Ghana's immediate past High Commissioner to Canada, and then also a former Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana. He's a member of the NPP. Honorable, welcome. Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Also, Martin Kpebu is a private legal practitioner. He's a leader of one of three individual bondholder groups. Also joining us, Martin Kpebu, good morning. Welcome.
Morning.
Great. Also, the Honorable Mama Yarga is a member of parliament for the Boko Central constituency, also a private legal practitioner. Honorable Mama Yarga, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Great. So, I have three seasoned lawyers to talk about a matter of law and also of citizenship and of the right of the Ghanaian. So, let us start off with you, the Honorable Mama. Although Dr. Kesla Toforsing spells out some of the issues, the Electoral Commission's chair appeared before you, Parliament, finally, after that tango on the back and forth. She gave some detail as to why they pushing for this Ghana card to be the sole identity document for the continuous registration, making it quite clear that the Ghana card is going to be used to vote in election 2024. And why the guarantor system is faulty, because it gave room to what they described as guarantor contractors getting ineligible people onto our voter roll. What are the specific concerns against this CI, and why you think that it is not going to guarantee us a credible electoral roll or possibly disenfranchise eligible voters?
Well, I mean, good morning to my colleagues here and to our viewers. The issues, in my opinion, are simple and straightforward. There are others that are a little bit more complicated in terms of the questions of law that arise. But I'll try to present it in its most simplistic sense. The chairperson of the EC says that the main issue is the guarantor system. That the guarantor system has been subjected to some abuse. And in the last registration exercise, which saw the registration of about 16 million Ghanaian voters, 40,000 were ineligible voters. And the EC managed to discover that and deleted their names from the register. And so, in her opinion, they got in through the guarantor system. And in order to ensure that we have a register that, in her opinion, is credible and has integrity, we should take out the guarantor system. First and foremost, the internal logic of her argument is warped. Why do I say so? She admits that 40,000 people who were not eligible to be registered got on the register, and she discovered it and deleted it. The fact that she is able to discover it and delete it is a clear testament to the fact that the system works.
To the extent that they detected the ineligible persons,
and deleted them, means that the system as we have designed for her works. The system is capable of correcting itself. If people who are ineligible get onto the system can discover them and then delete them. So there's really no real threat to the integrity of the register, because the NDC or the MPP did not come fighting, gun blazing, that why did you delete 40,000 people? Everybody accepted the deletion of the 40,000 people, and then we went along, had an election, and then one party won, a number of parliamentarians won, and then life goes on. So that's the internal logic of her argument. But let's go to the main reason why she wants the guarantor system taken out. She says it's subject to abuse, and that's why she prefers to go and use the Ghana card. And we pointed out to her that, well, the Ghana card itself is also the product of a system that has the guarantor mechanism. Because in 2000, when we passed the National Identity Register Act, which makes provision for the compilation of a register of all persons resident in Ghana, including non-Ghanaians. That act did not make provision for a guarantor system. So the NIA had to use primary sources such as your birth certificate, your this, your passport, so many other sources in an effort to identify your citizenship. But we know that there are many Ghanaians who still remain undocumented. Undocumented in the sense that they may not even have a birth certificate. They may not have, and for those who have passports, they are even more limited. And they may not have other primary records that you can use to deduce their nationality or their citizenship of Ghana. So the NIA found it difficult. So they came back to Parliament in 2008 and sought an amendment to the NIA Act so that they can also include a guarantor system in the mechanism for identifying who is a citizen for the purposes of issuing them with a Ghana card. So we pointed out to her that, but you are running away from a guarantor system that we gave you as a mechanism for identifying Ghanaians to register them as voters. And you are rushing to go and embrace the Ghana card. Do you know that the Ghana card itself is also partly based on the guarantor system?
She says that...
I mean, for me, it was difficult for her to answer that question. She said, oh, the guarantor system of the NIA is more robust. So we asked, what about it is more robust? Oh, it has provision for people to guarantee on the basis of an oath that they must take. But again, I was scandalized. I was scandalized because the chairperson of the EC signed into law the CI 126, which amended the CI 91, which was the CI passed in 2016 to govern voter registration. And it was, she also had a difficulty, so she also came to Parliament to amend the CI 91 so that she could also incorporate a guarantor system in the CI 126. And in the CI 126, her guarantor system also has a provision for making swearing an oath. That you don't just guarantee, blanketly. So that you also swear an oath.
That provision that she says makes the NIA's guarantor system more robust than that of the EC, being the element of swearing an oath.
Yes.
Is also in the EC's
also in the EC's own CI 126, which makes provision for identifying using a guarantor system. The only difference is that in the EC mechanism, a registered voter who already has a card can guarantee, I think, for about 5 people. Are you getting the situation? So that is the only difference. So we said, oh, is that your only problem? Your only problem is that this one has an oath, this one doesn't have an oath. So we passed that law. So we know that it has an oath-taking element in it. But assuming that you are not even satisfied with the oath-taking element in your CI, you can bring us a proposal so that we'll amend your CI to capture the character and form of oath-taking in the NIA law, so that you synchronize and have the same mechanism of guarantor systems. The mechanism of guarantor system that the NIA is using, just transfer that into your law so that you also use the same guarantor system. Don't deny Ghanaians an alternative mechanism for proving. So for instance, he is a known Ghanaian. He has a son who has just turned, 18. He's eligible to vote. Under the NIA guarantor system, as a relative of the boy, he can walk to the NIA and then guarantee that this 16-year-old boy, 18-year-old boy is my son. And then all he needs to do is produce his Ghana card, which is evidence that he is a registered Ghanaian. And then say that this is my son, and produce his birth certificate or some document that establishes that that is his son or a relative, and guarantee for him that this is my son, he is a Ghanaian, and so also issue him with a Ghana card. That is one of the mechanisms that the NIA system has. So we're saying that it should be possible for you also, who is able to walk to NIA and then guarantee for your son to obtain a Ghana card, you should equally be able to walk to the Electoral Commission and through the same mechanism, guarantee to the Electoral Commission that this is my son, and this is evidence that I'm a Ghanaian citizen, and he is also a Ghanaian citizen, and so issue him with his voter ID card because he has come of age, he's 18 years of sound mind and eligible to be registered as a voter. That is the simple position of the NDC, because we don't understand the logic of your argument, because if your issue is the character of your guarantor system, but you don't have a problem with the guarantor system of the EC, we're saying that, okay, bring us a proposal to change your guarantor system to conform to the guarantor system of the EC, and we will support you. The second issue that is contained in the new proposal she's bringing is this continuous registration exercise.
In fact, before we get there,
yes,
forgive me, the second issue that the EC chair raises in support of the EC's position about this matter is that those who serve as guarantees have their details attached to the person's application. That is for the NIA system. But the EC system, she said, the guarantor system doesn't. As in that those who are serving as the guarantors for these people to get onto the electoral roll, they have their details attached to the application of the person they are guaranteeing for. She makes the argument that that provision is not in the EC's guarantor system, reason why it complements how robust the NIA system is than that of the EC, guaranteeing some level of sanity and also credibility of our electoral roll.
Well, you know, when you are at the level of the chairperson of the EC, I expect that, and of course she's a lawyer, she's my senior at the bar, I've known her for a long time. I expect that you will have a very, very comprehensive and meticulous view of your own work, what you do and how you do it, the rules and regulations governing how you do it. I don't even understand this argument. The reason why I say I don't even understand this argument is that before the EC issues you a voter card, when you are not being guaranteed for, they are required to ask for every detail of yours. It's in the regulations, the CI, the instrument, sorry. So you have the information of the person. That is why you issue the person with a voter ID card. So when the person provides you with a voter ID card, implicit in that card is an assumption that you have all the details of that person. I hope you understand me. So you can't come and tell us that in spite of the fact that the person presented you with a voter ID card, you don't have other details of the person, because you have the other details in your records. And the voter ID card the person is holding is the evidence that you have that person's details in your records. So I don't even understand really her argument. But we are saying that the guarantor system of the EC, in our opinion, has better accountability mechanisms. Do you know why? In the case of the NIA, an individual parent will come there, or a relative, or even the two commissioners of oath that the NIA has registered. They will come there and then they will guarantee for people. Nobody really will challenge them. It's just them and the NIA. But the EC's mechanism usually ensures that political parties have representation at the registration center. Okay?
I see.
And the political parties have a right to just look at a person and challenge the person, even without any basis. To just say, look, looking at your physical features, we don't think you are up to 18 years of age. Okay? Or to just say that, well, we're in this community, who are your parents? You can't mention any particular person in the community that they know. They say, well, we don't know you because we know almost everybody in this our community. So if your parents are here, we will know. If you are from this community, we will know. Or that we could easily just walk to their homes and check and verify. So you have political party representation at the registration center who have a right to challenge. So even the 40,000 that she mentioned, I can vouch that those were the product of challenges by both sides. So normally you find the MPP people sitting there, and any NDC, anybody that they believe is from the NDC side, they will just challenge. Because they look at your height and look at your size, maybe it is some deficiency that the person is suffering. So at age 18, he has some physical challenges. They'll just look at you and say, oh, we don't believe you are up to 18, we are challenging you. And when that challenge is mounted, you have to refer it to an investigation board. They will conduct an investigation. Then, the panel will invite both sides to come to produce evidence to show that, the person is actually 18. So the Electoral Commission registration mechanism and the guarantor system has better inbuilt checks than even the mechanisms of the NIA, because the NIA, there's no provision for challenge. There's no mechanism there for you to challenge. It's just the you and then the NIA authority. So when she creates the impression that her guarantor system is inferior to the NIA guarantor system, I find that baffling, because I'm like, does this person really understand the mechanisms of the law that governs her own work? So I don't understand her argument, because it's just unfounded, and it just takes anybody who has the various CIs and then the regulations and then the acts to read through it, and you will see that her argument is flawed.
In fact, one of the, because you made mention of the regulation, and gentlemen, I'll come to Lawyer Martin Kpebu and then also Lawyer Ayikweyo too. The regulation 2012, the National Identity Register that you made mention of.
Yeah.
I think this is regulation 7.1.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can check it. This is the mandatory use of the National Identity Card.
Yes.
Now, it is stated in there, 7.1a, a national identity card issued to an individual shall be used for the following transactions where identification is required. They list a number of them: application for an insurance of a passport, application for an issuance of a driver's license, opening of individual or personal bank accounts, which is happening now, and then purchase of insurance policies, purchase, transfer, and registration of land by an individual or a connected transaction subject to the provisions of other enactments. But when you go to J, one of the services or that the identification is required is the registration of voters. And then you go to payment of taxes and so on. If this regulation is in force, Regulation 2012, when will this aspect of it, that is the national identity card being used for the registration of voters, be admitted? I think that's one of the concerns or questions that have been raised about your position as well on this.
She raised that issue in Parliament, but I'm happy that my two colleagues here are lawyers, so they will examine my response. First and foremost, my argument in Parliament was that, look, you need first to find out whether the NIA or the minister responsible for the national identification systems who is the minister who makes the regulations through Parliament. The first question I ask is, you need to first convince yourself that they had the authority to enact to pass a subsidiary legislation binding the Electoral Commission to use their card. That's the first thing. Whether they had the authority to pass a law binding the Electoral Commission to use their card as a means of identification of citizens for the purposes of registration. The reason why I ask this fundamental question is that the Constitution says that the Electoral Commission shall not be under the direction and control of any other authority. Okay? So today, the NIA is under the authority of the Interior Minister. So can the Interior Minister pass a law binding the NIA, the Electoral Commission, to use by all means a card issued under the direction of the Interior Minister without violating the constitutional provision that guarantees the independence and autonomy of the Electoral Commission?
So to the extent that other institutions like the banks and others are going by this LI which is in force,
yes,
passed by Parliament.
Exactly.
You are saying that this aspect that requires the registration of voters,
because her argument, her argument was that she is bound by Regulation 7.1 of Regulation 2.111. Is that okay? Because it says that when you go to register, you should provide your issued Ghana card. Then the second argument we confronted her with is that it says that you should provide your issued card. It means that if the card has been issued to you and you go to register, you should provide that as a means of identification. How about if the card has not been issued to you? If the card has not been issued to you, you should be enabled to have an alternative mechanism for proving your citizenship. Because the law will only apply if you have been issued a card by the NIA, so that it becomes an offense if you have been issued a card by the NIA and you go to register to vote and you don't present that issued card as a mechanism for identifying you as a citizen. Let me finish. Then we drew her attention to the fact that she herself in her statement had informed us that in 2020, when she was doing the revision and the limited registration, 10 million people who had Ghana cards presented their Ghana cards as a means of identifying them to be registered as voters. So we said that they presented that to you because they had it. The 6 million who did not present you the Ghana card, it is because they didn't have it. Because it is easier for anybody who seeks to register and who has a Ghana card to simply present the Ghana card as a mechanism of identifying him, instead of going around scouting for guarantors to come and guarantee for the person and to open yourself to challenge by opposing political parties who are sitting at the registration centers. So let's leave the law as it is, so that we will rather put pressure on the NIA to make sure that every Ghanaian who has a card or who is entitled to get a card is issued with a card, so that it makes it easy for them when they want to go and register to use their cards for registration. Luckily, the finance minister came and committed himself to finding all the money for NIA to be able to give every Ghanaian, issue every Ghanaian a card. Even though we don't take his promises seriously, because Ghanaians, know his track record.
Why don't you take him serious?
No, we are happy if he's able to do it. But we're saying that let's leave it as it is. If he's actually able to do it, every Ghanaian who goes to obtain the card will naturally use it to also go and register. Indeed, Ghanaians need a card for many things that in their lives for them are more important than even registering to vote.
In fact, those
SIM cards
are captured
SIM
in
cards,
here.
SIM cards are for some people today, their SIM card is their life. because that is their bank, that is their computer where they store all their records. That is, for some people, that is their business office. So for some people, the SIM card is even more important than the voter register card. And yet, when the Minister for Communication placed a deadline to deny them or deprive them of their SIM cards if they did not produce a Ghana card, she struggled and struggled. People went and queued in front of NI offices for days, didn't get the card until the Minister of Communication was compelled to postpone the deadline indefinitely and has decided not to even take the matter seriously, so far as I'm concerned. I'm saying that that is a SIM card that is so dear to people's lives. They couldn't get NI cards and then they didn't do it. Now today you are saying that for a voter register, how many people really are concerned about, registering to vote? Look at the turnouts for votes across the world. People are despondent and they have issues with even politicians and the political class. So it takes a lot of effort to even convince them to go and vote, even when they have the card. Not to talk about when you make it more difficult for them to get the voter card. So our argument is that leave the law as it is.
Well, Lawyer Martin Peeble, I'll bring him at this point, and we'll get to the continuous registration aspect, because that argument is what the EC chair makes, would address some of the concerns that you have raised, to the extent that we'll get to the point of an election where some eligible voters would be disenfranchised through administrative procedures. Lawyer Martin Peeble, you had the EC chair this week in Parliament attempting to address some of the concerns that the minority and indeed some of the people like yourselves had raised, and the assurance by the NIA that all persons who don't have the Ghana card, eligible voters who don't have it, will get it before the 60 days before 2020, that's December 7, 2024. Find out your thoughts on this.
Yes, Mr. Kansi, but let's quickly point out that when Professor Atifa appeared before Parliament, he made even before then, there was a public statement that he made, all right, on Newsfile last Saturday, where he indicated that for the 2.5 million citizens who don't have the Ghana card now, that it could take about 3 months. That's subject to the availability of funds. That's if the vendor is paid. The banks had kind of seized the cards. To take 3 months, and then in the event of any delays, etc., up to about 6 months. So as soon as for me, I heard this thing could stretch to about 6 months. That was it for me. Look, we don't want all that tension. Something that could take 3 months and possibly delay up to 6 months for all these people to be registered. That was it. Why the rush? Why do we have to say we'll use only the Ghana card when there are alternatives? You see the point? So my main point is that we are saying this could take up to 6 months. That's if money is made available.
In fact, we have the breakdown, the NIA,
yes, so let's go through.
Professor Ken Atefa, we have that breakdown that he put out. We'll put it on the screen shortly so that we'll all follow every step of the way, the submission that he made in Parliament.
Excellent.
But you see, to the extent that these number of cards have been printed, and he makes a very forceful point about the ability of the NIA to actually meet these demands. In fact, that's what you see there.
Good.
Cards printed and issued, that is collected, 17.3 million. And bear in mind, this 17.3 includes 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds.
Non-Ghanaians.
And then the non-Ghanaians as
residents.
well.
At a point, if I may say something, I think he sought to say that this one doesn't include the non-Ghanaians. I think there was a debate between him and Professor Jampo.
So there was a little over 100,000, people who have been issued who are not non-Ghanaian.
Yes.
Then you have cards printed but not collected. 642,403. That's what you talked about.
So not yet 2.5 million. So even this 642,000 is a challenge. The challenge is that this have not yet been collected. That's 642,000. You know what it takes to be able to operationally give all this to the people involved? And then you see the one that's 2.5 million who have not yet been registered. That's not on the screen, but it's 2.5
but you see,
million.
is that the
That's my main
of
challenge.
the NIA or the EC, or the people actually not turning up to go and register for the Ghana card?
Excellent. So it's a combination of all of these reasons. And so because we are running a democracy, right, let's not take decisions that seek to punish people. No, let's not punish people just because some, there are various reasons why some have not been able to go. But we are not saying that all these 2.5 million have not registered because they deliberately refuse to go. That's not it. So once we don't have a scientific basis for saying that it's their fault, we will not do anything that will punish them. So the main thing is that once Mr. Okansi, Professor Atefah himself says it may take 3 months and possibly up to 6 months. That's after the debt has been paid, not as of the date you are speaking. So it's already been 1 week from last Saturday. No, yes. So today is 1 week. The debt has not yet been paid. The minister is still making efforts to pay, right? Maybe look. Let me quickly add this. You see, the money Data Bank made, the money the minister and the president made, they should return it. It can help reduce the debt, right? Yes, because every time these are some of the things. This money they've made, it will haunt them every step of the way. So the point is that until the minister has paid the banks, and then they've been able to get all the cards, we can't begin to count the 3 months to 6 months. That is the key thing. And so I'm asking myself that, why do we have to put ourselves under so much stress? If you were running your personal company, and then you see that, look, you need money to be able to accomplish something. You don't have the money yet, and there are alternatives. It's no brainer that you will go for the alternative so that you reduce stress on yourself, and also, most especially, the peace. You see, already we are struggling more than we deserve to struggle, okay? Ghanaian is overburdened, okay? People can't find food to eat, people can't buy medicine, people can't pay rent, and then we get up and give ourselves unnecessary stress. Let's not fix something that's not broken. We've always used this guarantor system. We've used it for decades, and so there is nothing wrong with continuing to use it. Look,
regardless of the concerns that the EC has raised about the guarantor system not being robust enough to secure the integrity of our electoral roll?
Mr. Okansi, you heard Honorable Ayariga debunk all those things. And I support him. Because when I heard it, I was just like, no, it looks like our intelligence is being belittled. Yes, with those things about it's not robust enough. So are we saying all the elections we've had, where we had the guarantor system working, all those elections are not free and fair? They are not good. Is that the argument? When the EC itself in the past, I said, yes, we've had free and fair elections. No, look, listen, that's what I'm just saying. The simple point is that, is the NIA card the only card that can be used? As soon as you agree that we have alternatives, we have this guarantor system, that's the end of the question, right? And don't forget the passport, etc. We've always had the passport, right? So that's the CI 126. You know, we amended the CI 91 by removing the use of the driver's license, right, and the NHIS card, right? That was the essence of bringing the CI 126, right? We removed those ones. Then I think the matter of the birth certificate, right? So the question is that if the passport is still in the CI 126, why? Why can't we continue to use this to register? So the guarantor system is there, the passport is there, then there's the national identification card. Yes, that's what CI 126 says. So I don't think we should take ourselves through this stress, and most especially erode all the peace and quiet we're enjoying. I think we are already suffering enough. Suffering enough.
Let me take your thoughts on this. And you see the statistics we put out there on the screen by the NIA. How do we, in your view, address that issue of the cards of people that are ready sitting at the NIA, not collected? These people could be within the bracket of the eligible voters who do not have the Ghana card. Okay, so that we don't get to the point where, like we saw with the SIM card registration, when it's getting closer to the particular period, so many people throng the centers to get the Ghana card, when we are at this point where when you go to the centers, it's almost empty. So when you look at that picture, plus the EC's own argument, which both of you have questioned, how do we address that? I mean, get people who have actually registered for the Ghana card to get it, and also have the NIA being financed, giving the necessary resource to carry out their duty of printing and issuing cards for people who have registered but don't have the Ghana card. Lawyer.
Yes. So number one is all about increasing education, right? So more announcements should be made. And then also for those cards, you know, at a point when there was the stampede because of the threat to deactivate SIM cards that had not been registered. You know, you needed the NIA card to do those, right? Some people came to Accra. So my suspicion is that for those who travel from other parts of the country to Accra to do it and eventually didn't get the cards, it must be that for those people coming back to get those cards must be a challenge. That's not the only one. I'm just saying that we can infer from the way people came. You know, Elwak Stadium, so many people came to get a card and all that. People were queuing and all everything we saw on the TVs there, right? Yes, so we have to, the first thing is to increase announcements, and then perhaps do some disaggregation. So look through the data, those cards, so that the various constituencies or district offices, yes, the cards will be arranged that they are all sent there. That's if there are those that are in Accra, right? So education. Call people to come and pick. But no matter how, look, it's not possible that all these 642,000 cards will be picked up. No, things in the nature of human beings, you will never get 100% compliance. That's how come we must continue to keep the window open for people who want to use their passports and people who want to do the guarantor system. You can't use just one system. You can't use just the NIA card. It's not possible. It is not. Human beings are not like that. You can't get everybody to come in. After all, in this particular case, what is it? It's not as if we don't use the NIA card, then the elections are not free and fair. That's the main point. Let's stress it. Okay. We can't stress it enough. It's not as if failure to use the NIA card means that the elections will not be free and fair. No. What happens to our previous elections that we had all lauded?
I see. So, lawyer Ikwetu, you see, the concern is that there are some people who, and lawyer, some lawyer Matic people, some people are there who would definitely not want to go in for this. Yeah. But gradually, the point that Honorable Mama Yarga made, that the Ghana card is needed for many other things now, including getting the voter register, that is the identity, and being able to vote or be registered to vote for that matter. The problem of getting people who are eligible to get the Ghana card to actually go and register should be another area of concern for you as well in how to address it. And we put this earlier on the screen. This is as at February 19, 2023. We got the data from the National Education Authority. Obviously, by now it would have increased, all things being equal. But the 17.3 million, because we needed a breakdown of it. Because that includes people who are 15, 16, 17. The 18 years plus, that's the eligible voter population who have acquired the Ghana card, is 16,985,548. This is as at February 19, out of the 17.3.
So that's...
And all things being equal, they are projecting 19 million eligible voter population by 2024. We are equal to bring you here at this point. Why do away with the guarantor system? In the case, the point the NDC makes, not just the NDC, but other people, if it is proven to be an alternative for people to get onto the electoral roll and stick to the Ghana card, which could disenfranchise eligible voters? Lawyer.
Well, thank you. I think we are talking law generally,
Sure.
and therefore we should also seek to find what the interpretations are. The Article 51 of the Constitution reads that the Electoral Commission shall, by constitutional instrument, make regulations for the effective performance of its functions under this Constitution or any other law, and in particular for the registration of voters, the conduct of public elections and referenda, including provision for voting by proxy. So the EC going to Parliament to lay a constitutional instrument has a constitutional basis, which is Article 51. Now, 42, the right to vote. Every citizen of Ghana of 18 years of age or above and of sound mind has the right to vote and is entitled to be registered as a voter for the purposes of public elections and referenda. I don't remember whether there has been any amendment to this. So we all agree that the qualifications are that you should be a Ghanaian, then you should be 18 years and above, you should be of sound mind, and you should have been registered. If you are not registered, it means you cannot vote. Now, as I said, with 51, the EC usually will come out with the CI telling us how the registration will be done, and if there is nothing wrong with the regulations that were made for previous election, perhaps we use the same thing, public elections regulations. If you have any beef, you can make your changes. So the EC says that we are the administrators, and we have found that this guarantor system is bringing on to the register people who are not Ghanaians. If the law is that it is only Ghanaians who can vote, then we need to assist the EC to ensure that it really gets only Ghanaians vote for us. Otherwise, like we used to say, you get others coming to elect presidents and parliamentarians for you who are not, in fact, citizens of your country. Now, I see the issue as one of timing. It's one of timing. When would the registration actually take place? How long will it take for the National Identification Authority to issue the Ghana cards prior to? How long will it take? Do they have what it takes to do it now? If they do, then of course, we were colonized. At the end of which, when they were leaving, they left certain structures for us. Parliament, judiciary, so and so. That was not the system we knew. We had our chieftaincy systems and the rest. Now we have inherited them. And we are being told that that is the modern way to go. One of the things they do out there is like public identification. Any policeman, anybody who stops you, the first thing is, can I say an ID? Do you have an ID? So now we are being compelled, if you like, to go that way. We also need ID. When I see you, and in fact, it is helping in so many ways. Somebody says, I have a power of attorney from somewhere. Where's your ID to show that you are the person who was given that power to come and represent whoever, gave you that power? ID. If you bring me an ID, you will convince me. Now, if indeed that is the way to go, and it reminds me when the NDC went to court on the 126 or so, the last registration thing, trying to argue that certain, what was it? It was a particular thing they wanted to be included. I mean, if you have either a birth set or
the birth certificate.
you add a previous card, a registration card, a voter ID card, And even the passport and the rest, the Supreme Court said, well, they were not contained. Some of them, that what they're asking, were not contained in the CI. So this is the best time to argue. But what the lady is saying is that we go to the CI 71, it's already captured that it shall be part for purposes of registration. You need a Ghana card. It's already slipped into the law as we speak now. It was not challenged. It went there. And he's saying, I now want to implement it. You understand that? Because it is part of the laws of Ghana. The NDC, with the greatest respect, did not oppose it. Where that LI or whatever was late, and it went through. It has slipped through. And he's saying, all I want to do now is to go according to the law. Is it time to challenge it? Now, the bottom line for me, I was one of the few people who took this matter to court some time ago, Okade. The case of Okade versus Electoral Commission and the AG.
I see.
As to whether we can amend a subsidiary legislation, you know. And her conclusion was that no.
That subsidiary legislation cannot be amended.
You cannot. Why they lay it before you and you don't want it, then you need 2/3 majority to annul it. If you keep quiet and it passes, it has passed. So when after it has passed, you find something wrong with it, there's nothing you can do except to revoke the entire thing. And that's why I brought the Constitution to look at 11 again. Any other rule, regulation made by a person or authority under a power conferred by this Constitution or any other law shall A, be laid before Parliament, B, be published in the Gazette on the day it is laid before Parliament, and C, come into force at the expiration of 21 sitting days after being so laid. Now, so if you keep quiet for a subsidiary legislation, LI 1112, 2111, so and so, was late, nothing happens. It comes into force automatically, unless, that's the caveat, unless before the expiration of 21 days, Parliament annuls the other rule or regulation by the voters, not 2/3 of all the members of Parliament. This is where I have my difficulty. Is the NDC sure they can get 2/3 majority to annul what has been put there?
They are yet to put it.
Yes.
It's yet to be laid, and that's why they are fighting. And we should
What I'm
support them.
saying is that assuming it goes in,
we should fight
now,
it. It shouldn't
would
be
they
there.
have that number, 2/3 majority of all parliamentarians, to annul it? Right now, it's already divided into, is it 138, 138?
137.
Something happened to one of the guys.
136 now.
Is it possible? Is it
The
possible?
application doesn't vote
Yeah,
anymore. So
it doesn't
it's
vote
135,
anymore.
right?
So these are the things that rather worry me. That are you just talking, or you think you have what it takes at the end of the day to really annul it? You need 2/3 majority of the people to annul it. And what do you do with Regulation 7, which mandates it? And in fact, the Bank of Ghana, if you recall, also made use of that thing and said, we are now going to accept only Ghana card for purpose of identification.
It is causing so many problems.
And to a very large extent, well, it has been accepted. So as we are building our democracy, as we are made to follow what we call advanced democracies. If the NIA has time, I've looked at the figures we have put down there. After all, what is the voter population that we have in Ghana?
Well, at the end of 2020, they put a little over 17 million. Now they're projecting.
No, the actual vote at the end of the day, when you finish it, you count everything. How many people really cast their vote?
Normally between 50 to 70%.
It's even
turnout.
Turnout. So you see that the number doesn't even come to what those who register. I was making a point with some people. I am on the Spintex Road within Krowo, and we have a lot of Jehovah Witnesses around there. And when you tell them, but you people, why are you queuing? You say, oh, it's not because I want to vote. We don't vote, but I need the card. So there are so many people who even go to register, they don't vote at all.
Indeed.
They only need a card for other uses. I remember when we were here, was it 2016 or 2012 or thereabouts, doing analysis during the elections?
Yes.
You remember? By the time we got to about 10 million, we've actually settled on what we wanted. Just about 10 million. That's what I'm asking. I've become a little stale because I was away for the last time. So how many people actually vote? And if we already have 17, and after 17 from the 18 and above is more than 60 million, then we're almost there. When it comes to real voting.
But you see, lawyer, consider, and that's what you see on the city, but consider the concern as well of the possibility of these administrative procedures possibly disenfranchising eligible voters.
Well,
regardless of what the subsidiary legislation has said and cannot be amended.
You are saying that it has been issued but not yet collected. Why are we like that? You have gone to queue, they have issued a card, they've told you come and collect it, you don't go. And you are complaining. Why don't you go and collect your card? If it is there, it is there. Say, I'm waiting for you. Come and take your card. And you are complaining about districts and regional capitals and district capitals and all that. That is what we have. It is part of our system. We should make it work.
But that poses a challenge.
No, but you should find
voters.
ways. Otherwise, we will not make laws. The laws have been made and they should be respected. We should find ways and means of getting the laws work. You can't sit down and say that because I will find it difficult getting to a district, so make another law for me. You can do it if you want to.
Would it be a challenge admitting the proposal of, for instance, running the guarantor system concurrently with this Ghana card system as well, because of the inherent challenges, regardless of what the subsidiary legislation says, which cannot be amended?
I have no difficulty with the question. The difficulty is coming from the managers of the election. They are telling you that at the end of the day, this is what we found. About 40,000 people came in through the guarantor system, and we think it is not the best. It's the same as the national insurance card at the time. You know, anybody can go for it. We did not think through it, and we said, oh, it's okay if you have a national ID card, insurance card, you can come. Only to now realize that, but is it not for purposes of deciding whether to pay cash or to use a card? Is it for voting? So when you ask them to use the insurance card, you are allowing people who are not Ghanaians to come in and vote. And 42 makes it clear that it is only Ghanaians who should. And it is not the fact that you are Ghanaian, but you are qualified and you also have been registered. And we need regulations to go. Bottom line, give the National Identification Authority time to see whether it will work. If indeed getting to the end, they are still having that difficulty, then let's think of the alternative. But to me, it is too early. We're looking at December 2024, and we are now in February. We still have some time. And the numbers they have churned out are already huge. They're already huge. So why don't we give them the benefit of the doubt? They've told us their difficulty, which is that we don't have the resources to pay some of the banks that give us money. The government says we will look for the money, in fact we paid part already. Why don't we give them opportunity to see that, look, get all Ghanaians should be on their toes watching the system, so that getting close by say, hey, let's put brakes down. We don't think you can do it. Why don't we now bring in the guarantor system the last 3 months, the last whatever it is, to make sure that we get more and more people, you know, so that you don't disenfranchise anybody. But at this stage, to me, it's a little bit, early to say, no, don't bring it at all. I don't know when they intend also to do the registration. Which part of the year is this registration supposed to take place and all that? So that would be my. I've listened to all the arguments. They all look attractive. But one, I have a caveat that the 2/3 majority NDC may not get it. And therefore, at the end of the day, if they feel very strongly about it, they may not be able to jettison or even get it
get the
alone.
two-thirds majority.
The two-thirds.
Mama Yerga.
Well, there are two fundamental issues. And I've listened to my senior. He seems to take a position that the national identity register regulations, that's regulations 211, LI 2111, compels, is that okay, the Electoral Commission to use only the Ghana card as a medium. I'm going to read Regulation 7.1 so that my senior here will tell me whether it is right to give that interpretation to Regulation 7.1. Senior, this is what it says. A national identity card issued, okay, to an individual shall be used for the following transactions where identification is required. Issued shall be used for the following transactions where identification is required. And then J says registration of voters. Okay?
Yes.
Tell me, how does that mean that a national identity card is the sole document that you can bring to us to be registered as a voter?
I don't think that is an argument.
No, but that is her argument.
No.
I was in Parliament. Unfortunately, I haven't brought her speech. Her speech is that they are compelled, I get in the situation, to use the Ghana card alone. I will say no. The law says that where somebody has been issued with a national identification card,
Right.
when the identity of that person is being investigated by any public officer, that person shall present the card.
So
I get the situation. It is on the strength of this law that we amended the earlier CI to now enable the EC to receive the Ghana card as one of the mechanisms for identifying. Because the law says that if the person has been issued with the card, the word issued is used in the regulations. So where the person has not been issued with a card, then you say, no. If you come to me to be registered, that is the only mechanism that I will use to identify you as a citizen. Secondly, I want you to relate this to another law, which is not even a subsidiary legislation, the Citizenship Act. Okay? The Citizenship Act provides in section 22 and 20. Sorry, I need to, because these days we use our we use our phones as our libraries, and the Citizenship Act makes provision for the Minister of the Interior, okay, to issue certificates to confirm the nationality of citizens where there is doubt. That is not a subsidiary legislation. That is a parent legislation. That is the Citizenship Act of 2000, Act 591, Section 21. I want to read it. It's important. I beg you. 21, evidence. 20 deals with certificate of citizenship in doubtful cases. And it says that the minister may, on an application made by or on behalf of any person with respect to whose citizenship of Ghana a doubt exists under Part 1 of this Act, certify that the person is a citizen of Ghana, and a certificate issued under this section shall be prima facie evidence that the person was such a citizen at the date indicated in the certificate, but without prejudice to any evidence that he was such a citizen at any earlier date. So a certificate of the Minister of the Interior, by this law, is prima facie evidence before any authority that you are a citizen. Okay? Then it now says Section 21 of the same legislation makes provision for evidence. And it says that a document purporting to be a notice, certificate, order, or declaration, or an entry in a register, or a subscription to an oath of allegiance given, granted, or made under this act shall be received in evidence. The evidence may be given by the production of a certified true copy of the document by a person. An entry in a register made under this act shall be received as evidence of the matter stated in the entry. That's also evidence. Now we are dealing with the question of citizenship. The fundamental job of the Electoral Commission is to ascertain that you are a citizen under Article 42 of the Constitution. So you cannot now, in the face of other legislation which provide mechanisms for establishing citizenship, come to us in Parliament and say that you want to have a subsidiary legislation which precludes you from using all these other legislation that we have passed in Parliament as mechanisms for establishing your citizenship, that you want to preclude them as mechanisms for establishing citizenship when it comes to the purpose of registering a person as a voter. That is a fundamental legal flaw. And you can't come and make a legislation to that effect and then raise the question of, oh, once I succeed in bringing it, then you need 2/3 to prevent it from becoming law. It is only in a country where you believe that the courts are dead and sleeping that you can prefer that argument in the face of all these laws. In no country can you have parent legislation conferring on citizens a right to use alternative mechanisms to establish their citizenship. Then you, an Electoral Commission, will come with a subsidiary legislation and deny them those rights under those mechanisms passed by parent and substantive legislation. And so, once I succeed in laying it, you cannot have gather 2/3, and so I can use that. The courts are sitting there. Citizens will go there and challenge you. And in any case, this is about elections. We know what elections and the laws on elections have done to some countries. You need to build consensus. Why? The EC could have said, I won't come to Parliament to even discuss the draft with you, because no law binds the EC from coming to Parliament to discuss the draft with us. But they've come because they themselves appreciate that you need to build consensus. You need to build consensus so that if there's an agreement, because the major political parties who are going to participate in the elections need to buy into the idea. You can't, railroad everybody. People have ways of protesting. Do we want them to use all those mechanisms for protesting? Do we want to live in a peaceful country? Do we want to build consensus? And especially when you can show that the system is not broken. The system is not broken because you've told us that 40,000 people who are not entitled got on the previous register, and there was a mechanism for deleting it, and you deleted it, and nobody challenged you when you deleted it.
Bravo. What
are you doing in the 4 years between elections? Sitting in your offices 4 good years. Every month we pay you salaries. Can't you use those 4-year periods to clean the register if you suspect that somebody is tampering with the register? And then you want to restrict Ghanaians. I was going to present the second reason why we are really objecting to this one, which is the logistics of it, the continuous registration exercise, and the requirement that you must come to the district office. We said that new mechanism you are introducing, combined with the additional mechanism that you can only come with a Ghana card, those two instruments introduced at the same time will have the effect of preventing many people from registering. You're talking about, they themselves mentioned that in their estimation, 2.5 million people ought to be registered from now till elections.
2024.
2.5 million people. And you tell those 2.5 million people that you must go and get a Ghana card first. And after you got a Ghana card, the past practice where we reached out to you to carry out limited registration exercises, so we came to your communities, to your polling stations to register you. We won't do that again. Henceforth, we're going to sit in our office, wherever it is, and then you will go and get the Ghana card. When you finish, then you will come to us, and then we'll register you. So we're saying that, look, these two measures at the same time is going to disenfranchise many people, because there is abundant evidence that the NIA has had challenges in the past getting people their cards. That one is not in dispute.
Professor Ken Atefuah says they can meet that mandate. They can.
Excuse me, we cannot endanger our democracy on the assurances of a person like Professor Atefuah or even the finance minister. Because we passed NIA Act since Kufuor's time. How many decades now? Kufuor came and left. President Mills came and left. John Mahama came and left. Nana Addo came, he's done one term, he's almost ending his second term. We still haven't succeeded in making sure that every Ghanaian citizen has his card. We have district assembly elections in around September, and you are telling us, you Ken Atefuah, that we should bank on your assurance and then pass a law that is so restrictive as this CI is seeking to do, or that we should count on a man who swore on earth that we will never go to IMF. The following morning came and announced that we're going to IMF. A man who said we won't do haircut, the following day says we are doing haircut. A man who has consistently promised one thing and delivered another thing. Because he comes and sits in parliament and says, oh, don't worry, I'll find money for NIA, so you change the law. We say, no. Is it somebody else or it's you? Don't we know you? So we're saying that we cannot gamble on our democracy on the basis of an assurance from Ken Atefuah, who over the years has not delivered, or on the promise of the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, whose reputation everybody knows, and bank on the promises of these two people and endanger our democracy. As it is now, the law serves us well.
Right.
You see, I don't see his point of disagreement with me, because my conclusion is that we still have time. So give them time and let's see how it plays out. If getting to the end, it becomes clear that it won't work, we can now introduce other things. Now,
can we take that gamble?
Yes, why not? Why? We are in February. We are in February. We are talking. It is they who are raising any temperature. Who has complained?
No, we are complaining.
You
know what? This is needless. Instead
have complained.
Instead of us to concentrate on developing, we are just measuring the minors.
I don't even see the point of disagreement with me. This thing talks about citizens that has to be certified by the minister. Can we get the minister to certify everybody is a citizen before you go and register? Is it possible?
So you are being practical.
We are talking about
being practical,
a mass registration, and you are saying one of the things by which you can prove that you are against the minister can certify. Can the minister sit down to certify 3.5 billion people? I mean, that is a way of. And again, don't let the thing look like it is the first time we are doing it. It's not. Almost every time that we've gone to elections, we brought some CIs to work. How were we able to get out the national insurance scheme thing? That we shouldn't bring it. And we all agreed, and that yes, don't use it anymore. There were a lot of things they said about that, raising the temperature and all that. At the end of the day, it was taken out. They went to court. The court said, look, this is the ally we are working with, or the CI we are working with. It states the eligibility criteria, and we don't see the things we are talking about, so we will not accept it. So it is good to talk about, but don't let's create I don't know that the EC chairperson said this is the only way by which I can register people. I have not seen that.
No, but that is what the new proposal.
What I'm saying is that
that's what the CI
is about. He's reminding you, and you are using the word shall in terms of this word shall be used for purposes of registration. It's not only for identification. The rest say identification, but this one says for purposes of registration. Is that not what you
That's
read?
the National Identification
That-
Act.
yeah.
So that is the mandatory use of the National Identification Card.
For
7.1 says
yes.
a national identity card is issued.
Yes,
An individual
but that is the
shall be
point we
used.
are making.
Yes,
That
so we are saying
now
that
it is not issued.
Yes.
Now they have given you the statistics,
Yes.
and they are telling you that before then and now we would have done it.
So we're saying that.
No, that's dangerous.
Yes.
What is that? You are raising the issues.
Senior.
So the
Since the law came, it is taking a long time for this thing to be done, but we now can see the effort that has been made. Look at where we are. Over 17 million had already been, issued out, and the people are telling you this 2.5, we can take care of it. Why are you
How
still
long did it
doubting?
take to get the
No,
17.3 million? It took years.
Whatever it took, they
years.
did it, but
Senior.
you are not comparing 2 to 17.
But you see,
The issue is huge.
That is where the
difference is
flaw
huge.
in that argument is. Because then the response to you is that, okay, the last registration in 2020, when you issued people up to about 10 million Ghana cards, when they went to register, they presented the Ghana cards. So people naturally will present the Ghana cards if it has been issued to them.
Yes.
And indeed, the law says that if you have the Ghana card and it has been issued to you, present that for voter registration.
Correct.
So a law already makes it compulsory and mandatory on you, the citizen,
Who has it?
who has it,
Yes.
to present it for registration. So we are saying that leave the law as it is and rather work hard on registering the people, because when the people have the cards, they will naturally
So
use
give
it
them time to
for-
register. That's
Pardon?
what they're saying.
But nobody.
issue them.
No. But the issue is not giving the NIA the time to register. The issue is the EC saying that change my law today so that unless somebody comes with a Ghana card, I will not register the person. We say no. Don't change your law today. The law should remain that they should bring either the Ghana card or their parents and relatives should come and vouch for them. Until everybody has it, we believe that everybody who has it will use it naturally because it is so convenient. And in any case, we are saying that there are other laws that confer on citizens a right to use other mechanisms. You don't have the authority to come by subsidiary legislation and deprive them of those rights. And I've cited the Citizenship Act to you. And I'm saying that somebody cannot be certified under the Citizenship Act, and then you will come and tell the person that that document under the Citizenship Act, you will not accept it, because by law you must accept that one also. So let's be even. Let's look at it even purely from a legalistic point of view. It just doesn't work.
It just says give us time. That was why he brought the director himself
So
to
what's the
also come
ideal
and address
path?
you.
Okay, in taking to, as it were,
We have to go for a break.
achieve this objective of the law, the National Identity Act, to have the Ghana card issued for the purposes of registration of voters, because per the act, as we have all read the details of it, one of the requirements as stated in 7.1, that a national identity card issued to an individual shall be used for the following transactions where an identification is required. That includes the registration of voters.
Yes.
The Bank of Ghana has actually started the execution of this,
Yes.
instructing all banks and financial institutions to demand the Ghana card as the identity document for financial transactions. What is the ideal path
Let me
to achieve this
I
for
won't,
the
I,
registration of voters?
I won't even wait for you to finish. Let me say, without an iota of doubt, that no agency, no public institution has a legal right and authority to tell a citizen that the only document they will admit for purposes of identifying the nationality of that citizen is a Ghana card.
That-
Let me tell you,
the Bank
I'm
of
saying that
Ghana
the
has done
bank,
this?
not even the Bank of Ghana.
So can citizens challenge the Bank of Ghana? This directive by the Bank of Ghana?
No public institution in this country has a legitimate authority to say that unless you come to me with a Ghana card because of LI 2111, I will not accept any form of identification except a Ghana card. They are all mistaken.
That's
Their
what the
understanding
banks
of the
are
law
doing.
is wrong. I'm
So-
saying that the law is clear. The law says that a citizen who has been issued the card, when that citizen goes to any public officer and there is a need for that citizen to prove his citizenship, that citizen should present his Ghana card issued. That is on condition that there is evidence. There's evidence that he has been issued with the card. If that citizen hasn't been issued with the card, and that citizen has a Ghana passport, and that citizen has a certificate from the Minister of Interior, and that citizen has another mechanism that proves the citizenship of that citizen, I swear, if you were to go to court and challenge them, the court will affirm your right to use those other legally affirmed mechanisms for establishing your nationality.
So that is if there are systems in place to actually authenticate that.
People just play along because,
have been
listen,
issued the Ghana
people
card.
just play along because it is convenient. If I have a Ghana card, why would I go struggling to use other mechanisms? Are you getting the situation? So people just play along. But I can assure you that no one has a legal right in this country, no agency, not even the Bank of Ghana. The president has no legal authority to tell a citizen that unless it is the Ghana card, I will not allow you to use, your passport or a certificate of a Minister of Interior or some other lawfully recognized mechanism to prove your citizenship. So the Electoral Commission cannot follow in that footsteps. Because the other people can do it and we'll keep quiet. The Bank of Ghana can do it, we'll keep quiet. Banks can do it. Insurance companies can do it, we'll keep quiet because it facilitates their business. But when it comes to a matter as critical as the right to vote and the integrity of our democracy, trust me, we will stand up and we will make sure that you act according to the law.
Lawyer Martin Kpebu, but you see, that's where the issue is. If you're keeping quiet about another situation that is taking inspiration from the interpretation of the law as it stands now.
No, but there's something more fundamental. Listen carefully.
Why would you not raise questions about this?
There's something more fundamental.
You admitted earlier that people get a Ghana card not just to vote, but for other services.
Exactly.
Including accessing financial
Listen carefully. There's something more fundamental that you are not paying attention to, and they are lawyers. If the Constitution says that the Electoral Commission is independent and autonomous, it shall not be under the direction of anybody in the exercise of its constitutional responsibilities. And you go and make a law that predicates the exercise of that constitutional responsibility to register on the conduct of another authority that is subject to executive control. What do you think you are doing? Because the law says the Electoral Commission shall be independent, it shall not be under the control or direction of any agency, and that it must register Ghanaians who are 18 years and above and of sound mind so that they can exercise their constitutional right to vote. And in doing so, it should not be under the direction of anybody. Okay? Now you go and make a law that says that you can only register people if they bring you a Ghana card. Meanwhile, the Ghana card is an authority under the control of the executive arm of government, which is the Minister of Interior. When you make laws, one thing that you consider is when this law falls in the hands of a bad man, what can he do? The proverbial bad man. Go to your basic first year jurisprudence. They will tell you that when making law, you think about the bad man. If this law falls in the hands of a bad man, what will a bad man do with this law? So if you have the NIA under the control of a bad man who is, let's say, an NDC member, okay? And he controls the registration exercise, the deployment of the officers that will do the registration. Even after they've done the registration, he manages the logistics of the distribution of the cards. What would the bad NDC man do? If I say MPP, they will say, but let me say, what would the bad NDC man do?
They say the bad.
Are you getting the situation? The bad NDC man may contemplate a number of things. He can decide, okay, he will deploy very bad agents in Eastern region and in Ashanti region. And where their machine can print 100 cards a day, he will make them print only 10 cards a day and frustrate the people in Ashanti and Eastern region. Even after they've taken their biometrics, when their cards come, the bad man will make sure that the printing of the cards to go to Ashanti and Eastern region will be frustrated and delayed. Even after the cards have been printed, the bad man will make sure that the cards don't get there in time. Even when they get there, the bad man can deliberately frustrate the people, go and come, until they are tired and fed up and stop coming. Then he'll come and sit on radio and television and say, oh, I have 2 million cards, so they are not coming to collect their cards. He hasn't told you how many times those 2 million people came to his office and did not get their cards and are frustrated and angry and have stopped coming. That is your proverbial bad man. So I will not allow a situation where the right to vote, which is based on the person having been registered to vote, which is an independent constitutional function of the Electoral Commission, to be predicated on the whims and caprices of this proverbial bad man. That is why I say we will not allow you to pass a law that says that it is only the Ghana card, which is under the control of the executive, to be the main tool that you will use to identify citizens.
You see, my problem with this analysis,
it should be of concern to you that any administrative procedure or any law that may disenfranchise eligible voters should be checked.
But
or questions should be raised.
Who passed the law in the first place? What is talking about? As if the executive passed the law. They can't pass any law. If they make the laws which are subsidiary, they even bring them to lie in parliament. So at the end of the day, they are passed because parliament has allowed them. I mean, you cannot direct the EC what to do administratively, but we are all under the law and we are supposed to respect the law. Even the executive's business is to administer the law, execute them, see that they work. So if there's already a law in place which the person is trying to use, I think it is far-fetched to say that it is rather the executive that is directing it as to what to do. You were in parliament, perhaps, when the law came, or that it was the parliamentarians who saw the subsidiary legislation, allowed it to pass. So it has become part of the law. We should always balance this idea of the right of citizens to vote against who are citizens. We should balance that. It's too sweeping to say that, oh, you are disenfranchising. At the end of the day, the 40,000 that she got weeded out were people who were found not to have been citizens at all.
No.
So we should also balance it.
No. They were not necessarily people who were not citizens. They were most likely people who were citizens but not yet 18 years.
Well.
Are you getting that?
Then they were not qualified.
The minors and the foreigners.
Then
we are saying that
they were not qualified.
But we're saying that the guarantor system of the Ghana card does not stop that. The guarantor system in the Ghana card, if you say your guarantor system cannot stop that, we are saying that the guarantor system also in the Ghana card does not also stop that, because they also use a guarantor system.
That is not.
Are you getting the situation? So it's a weakness in the system.
I think the fundamental issue we are
the weakness with a mechanism that is more dangerous to the system.
It's trying to balance the issue the qualifications of a voter.
Right, thank you. But the fundamental issue is to ensure that all eligible voters actually are
but remember, the cards are
exercise
there.
Their rights.
Those who went and queued and got the cards should go and collect them and stop the arguments. They should go and collect them and stop arguing.
Stay with us.